Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today's tutorial is going to be focused on a banner style that has become increasingly popular across Discord. Now I see a lot of variations of a banner similar to this. Some of them are about as detailed as this, some of them are less detailed. The few things I do notice though is just about all of them somehow have messy edges, the lines on the top aren't straight, and everything else or parts of it are just blurry and messy. So I figured I'd make a tutorial on how to make this banner right, and it's really simple. It should take you no longer than 3 to 5 minutes once you get it down. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the steps for how to make this banner. We're going to start off by going to File, New, and we're going to do 750 by 350. Then hit Create. From here, we're going to create a new layer from this little bottom corner right there, the plus sign. Click that, go to the background, click delete on your keyboard. Then go over to the left side where you see these different shapes. Click rounded rectangle, though you can also click regular rectangle. It doesn't matter because both allow you to round the edges. I'm just going to click rounded for simplicity's sake. Click that, click in the middle. You can either modify the values here, or you can do so after you've already created the shape. So I'm going to go ahead and make the shape first, and then I'm going to come over to this right side where it says properties, and I'm going to edit from there. Now if you don't have properties visible, you can go to window and scroll down to properties and click that, and once it's checked, properties is going to be visible for you on the side. So go ahead and make sure that the option is on fill, not on stroke. For the width, we're going to want to do 610, and for the height, we're going to want to do 160. And for the edges, at 51 pixels. Then we're going to drag that to the center, do Control G to group it. Let's call this group main area, and we'll call this down here the base. Let's make this red. And you notice that the canvas is a lot larger than the actual banner itself is going to be. The reason I like to do that is just so I have some extra space to wiggle around with. If I make it right to the actual dimensions, then I don't really have any wiggle room, and then I'm having to expand from there. So it's easier to just make it larger than intended, and then you have plenty of extra space to work with if you need it. Next, you're going to want to create 3 different duplicates of the space layer, and I'll show you why in just a moment. For now, we can drag them up top. We'll make this one, let's say, orange, and this one yellow. We'll call this one the edge, and we'll call this one the edge shadow. And we'll get to those in just a moment, but for now, just hide them. Now you're going to want to go ahead and grab the image that you'll be using for the backgrounds. I'm going to choose anime scenery because the channel is based around anime and Japanese culture, but of course you can swap it out with just about anything else you can think of, footage from games, movies, real life. It's really up to you, and again, I'm just using anime themes, images, because that's what the channel is based around. So go ahead and grab the image, paste it in. I'm going to use Control V, and then make sure you're resizing it using Control T down to a size that is more appropriate. And you can either do right click, create clipping mask, or you can hold Alt and click between the 2 layers, then click there. We're going to call this the image. We're going to create a duplicate of that. We're going to move this above. We're going to do Control G, and we'll name this text. We'll give this color blue, and we'll hide that for the time being. Now we're going to return to this first image layer. We're going to go to Filter, Blur Gallery, Field Blur, and we're going to do, say, 3 to 5 pixels. Perfect. Now we're going to grab these dots. We're going to drag them in using the Move tool, Control T, resize them to an appropriate size. That looks good to me. And then clip those. Let's call this dots. Now we're going to do Control J. We're going to clip that. Control T, move that across, and then we're going to merge this down. Now right click, blending options, color overlay, and make sure the color overlay is white. Hit OK, right click, rasterize layer style, and bring the opacity down to 50%. Now go ahead and grab the glass texture, bring that in. We're going to make this as an overlay. We're going to clip this as well. We'll call this glass, and we're going to adjust this one as well until it fits appropriately, just like that. Okay, before we drag in our animated character, we're going to want to go ahead and finish up these corners just so we can make sure everything is aligning as we want it to. So right click, blending options, choose stroke, and we're going to have 5 pixels of white stroke. Now we're going to return back to this base layer, right click, blending options, we're going to go to inner shadow, and we want the following settings: 41, 0, 25, and 6. Hit OK. Now we're going to come up to the edge shadow, and this is rather self-explanatory. This is going to be a little shadow running along the edge of the image. So go ahead and disable the fill because we want the stroke for this one. Make sure it is set as black and that it is a solid line and not a dotted line. And as for the settings, we're going to want to put it at overlay at 85%. Now we can go ahead and return to the text layer and get that wrapped up. So we're going to create a new layer. We're going to go over to our horizontal type tool. Make sure the font is set at Forte, F-O-R-T-E, and let's call this rules. There we go. Let's make sure this is centered. We're going to bring up our image now. Let's get rid of the copy. Let's call this image overlay. Let's clip it on. We're going to put it at linear burn. There we go. And now we're going to go back to our text layer, right click, blending options. We're going to first apply a stroke at 3 pixels. Make sure the stroke is white. And then we're going to go to the drop shadow. And then for this, we're going to want to put it at 47, 8, 0, and 3. With 25 degrees being the angle, and make sure global light is unchecked. Click OK. We can collapse that so it doesn't take up too much space. And you can adjust the image itself if you want a different view, but I'm pretty content with how it is right now. So we can hide the text layer. Now with our text layer out of the way, we can go ahead and drag in our character model. And we're going to resize them until we have a size that we feel is appropriate for the image. Now you want to choose a character and a background image that complement one another's color. Otherwise you have colors that clash with one another and it does not make the banner as visually appealing. And then continue moving the character model until they're positioned in a way that you feel is appropriate for your banner. Now, if you've seen some of the other tutorials on the channel, you will have noticed that on those banners, the character model is coming out of the frame. We are not going to be doing that for this style. Instead, everything is going to be contained within this initial frame area. Before I show you how we're going to do that, we're first going to apply a drop shadow to our character model. So right click, blending options, drop shadow, and the settings that we used for the text are just about perfect. I might adjust the distance a tad, maybe 7. Great. Then OK, right click, rasterize layer style. Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to clip the character on the very top of everything else. So not only are they clipped onto the bottom so that the drop shadow, or sorry, the inner shadow from the base is going to be applied onto them, but the darker edge is also going to be applying onto the character model. And since they're on top of the glass, the dots, they aren't going to have the glass and dots affecting them, so it looks as if they're in front of all of the stuff going on in the backgrounds. So we can go ahead and make this red real quick. We'll call this the model. And you could finish up the banner here if you want. This is a perfectly acceptable place to wrap it up. Or you can go a step further and add a couple different things. So I'm going to create a new layer right above the dots. I'm going to switch back to the whites. I'm going to go to the rectangle tool, stroke, 3 pixels. Actually, I'm going to want 2. And I'm going to be using this dotted line stroke. I'm going to create a little rectangle. I'm going to do Control T, and I'm going to adjust it so the dotted rectangle is right up here. Control J, clip that on, Control T, and I'll put another dotted rectangle down here. And you can also do the same thing with a circle if you wanted. For example, let's do a circle next, new layer. Let's put a circle back here. That is not a circle. There we go. And hold shift as you make the circle so that it is sized as a circle should. Otherwise, you'll make ellipses. There we go. And we can put one back there as well. And then that will essentially wrap it up for this banner style. If you want to save from here, you highlight the entire banner, edit, copy merged, file, new, create, Control V, delete the backgrounds, and now you can either do file, export, save for web, and PNG24, or you can do file, save as, and then choose PNG. From there, the banner is good to go, and if you ever want to go back and edit it for a different style of banner, for example an info channel, you can just swap out the text fairly easily. Text is still editable. You can swap out the scenery really quickly by just swapping the image and then swapping out the character. And then it's a matter of a minute, and then your new banner is ready to go. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to have another video popping up on screen now to a tutorial similar to this one, but it's a little more complicated and features the character model coming out of the frame. But other than that, have an awesome day.